The light from 3 distant suns filtered through the observation deck windows of the UNS Discovery. Olivia Winters stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the approaching Valthran ships. They were massive, at least 3 times the size of the human vessel, with sharp angles that reminded her of prehistoric sharks. "Dr. Winters, they're requesting our delegation prepare for boarding," said Captain Frank Morrison as he approached her. His voice remained steady, but Olivia noticed the tension in his shoulders. "Are we ready for this, Captain?" she asked, not taking her eyes off the alien vessels. "Humanity has been preparing for first contact for generations," Morrison replied. "Though I doubt anyone expected our first advanced alien species to look quite so intimidating." The Valthrans had sent visual communications ahead of the meeting. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, with muscular bodies covered in iridescent scales that shifted between deep green and purple. Their faces featured prominent ridges and sharp teeth that jutted up from their lower jaws. Everything about their appearance screamed apex predator. Olivia adjusted the collar of her formal uniform. As the ship's lead exobiologist, she had spent the past week studying everything they knew about the Valthrans, which wasn't much. Their first messages had been simple and direct. They ruled this sector of space, and all visitors must present themselves to the Emperor. "They value strength above all else," Olivia said quietly. "Their entire society is built on a dominance hierarchy." Captain Morrison nodded. "Which is why we need to project confidence without appearing threatening. A delicate balance." The delegation gathered in the docking bay. Captain Morrison, Olivia, Chief Diplomat Alan Porter, Security Officer Grace Rodriguez, and 2 junior officers. The massive doors opened with a hiss, revealing 5 Valthrans standing rigidly in formation. The center figure wore ornate armor with symbols etched into the metal plates. His scales had a slight reddish tint that the others lacked. He stepped forward, towering over even the tallest human. "I am Emperor Krazith of the Valthran Empire," he announced in a deep, rumbling voice. Their translation systems worked well enough, though the Emperor's words had an artificial flatness to them. "You are the first humans to enter our territory, Captain." Morrison stepped forward and bowed slightly. "We are honored by your welcome, Emperor. I am Captain Frank Morrison of the United Nations ship Discovery." The Emperor's vertical pupils narrowed. "Your vessel is small and lacks significant weapons. Do all humans travel so vulnerably?" "We come as explorers and diplomats, not warriors," Morrison explained. This seemed to amuse the Emperor. "All species are warriors when necessary. Those who claim otherwise simply haven't been tested." The delegation was escorted to the Valthran flagship. Olivia couldn't help but stare at the massive corridors designed for beings much larger than humans. Everything about the ship emphasized power: exposed machinery that hummed with energy, trophies from conquered worlds displayed in recessed alcoves, and Valthran warriors who stopped to watch the humans pass with what looked like disdain. During the formal dinner that evening, Olivia sat quietly, observing. While the captain and Alan Porter handled the diplomatic conversation, she focused on studying the Valthrans themselves. She noticed how they moved, the way their neck scales flattened when they were pleased, and how the guards positioned themselves in the room. Most interesting were the subtle physical differences she detected. Behind the Emperor's left ear was a slight discoloration where the scales were thinner. All Valthrans had an unusual pattern of movement when turning their heads quickly, suggesting a potential vulnerability in their balance system. As the night progressed, tensions began to rise. Emperor Krazith became increasingly dismissive of human achievements and customs. "Your species is young," he said after hearing about Earth's history. "Soft creatures from a soft world. You have never faced true challenges." Olivia saw Captain Morrison's diplomatic smile strain. The Emperor leaned forward, his massive form dominating the table. "Perhaps humans should consider becoming a protected species under Valthran rule," the Emperor suggested. "Many lesser races find comfort in our guidance." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Olivia felt her heart beat faster as she recognized the threat hidden in the Emperor's words. First contact was quickly becoming first conflict, and she wasn't sure how the night would end. The tension in the dining hall grew thicker as Emperor Krazith continued to speak down to the human delegation. Captain Morrison tried to keep his voice calm and diplomatic, but Olivia could see the muscles in his jaw tightening. "Your offer of protection is generous," Morrison said carefully. "But humanity prefers equal partnerships rather than being under another species' rule." A low, rumbling sound came from the Emperor's chest. The other Valthrans at the table shifted uncomfortably, their scales changing to a darker shade. Olivia recognized this as a warning sign she had observed earlier. "Equal?" Emperor Krazith stood up suddenly, his massive form casting a shadow over the humans. "There is no equality in nature. There are predators and there is prey. Your soft bodies and small teeth make it very clear which category humans belong to." The Emperor began pacing around the table, his clawed feet clicking against the metal floor. He stopped directly behind Olivia's chair. She could feel his hot breath on the back of her neck. "Tell me, small female, do you also believe humans are equal to Valthrans?" the Emperor asked. Olivia turned slowly in her seat to face him. She chose her words carefully. "Different species have different strengths, Emperor. Humans may not have your physical power, but we have survived and thrived through intelligence and adaptation." The Emperor's face twisted into what might have been a smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "Pretty words, but when danger comes, words provide no protection." What happened next occurred so quickly that later Olivia could barely remember the sequence of events. The Emperor's arm shot forward, his clawed hand striking her across the face. The force of the blow knocked her from her chair onto the hard floor. She heard Captain Morrison shout and saw Security Officer Rodriguez reach for her weapon. But something deep inside Olivia, something from her years of combat training before she became a scientist, took over. As she fell, she noticed the discolored patch of scales behind the Emperor's ear that she had observed earlier. Without thinking, she twisted her body and struck out with precision, her fingers jabbing hard into that exact spot. Emperor Krazith's eyes widened in shock. His massive body swayed for a moment, then collapsed to the ground with a thunderous crash that shook the entire room. A horrible silence fell. The Valthran guards stood frozen, their weapons half raised. The human delegation stared in horror at the fallen Emperor. Olivia scrambled to her feet, her cheek burning from the Emperor's strike. "I'm sorry," she stammered. "He attacked me. I just reacted on instinct. I didn't mean to hurt him." But instead of attacking her, the nearest Valthran guard dropped to one knee. Then another did the same. Within seconds, every Valthran in the room was kneeling with their heads bowed. "What's happening?" Olivia asked, looking frantically at Captain Morrison. Before he could answer, one of the Emperor's advisors stepped forward. "You have defeated Emperor Krazith in combat," he said, his voice filled with awe and fear. "By the oldest law of our people, his throne is now yours." "That's impossible," Olivia said. "I don't want his throne. It was self-defense." "The method does not matter," the advisor explained. "For 10,000 years, leadership among the Valthrans has passed to whoever proves strongest. You struck the Emperor and he fell. The throne is yours by right of combat." Captain Morrison moved to stand beside Olivia. "There must be some misunderstanding. Dr. Winters is a scientist, not a ruler." The advisor's scales flattened against his neck in what Olivia now recognized as a sign of respect. "The human female has shown unexpected strength and cunning. These are traits worthy of leadership." Two Valthran guards gently lifted the unconscious Emperor and carried him from the room. Others formed a protective circle around Olivia. "What happens now?" she asked, still in shock. "Now," the advisor said, "you must come to the royal palace. On our homeworld, the coronation ritual cannot wait." Olivia looked back at Captain Morrison and the rest of the human delegation, her eyes wide with panic. In one moment, she had gone from being an exobiologist to the apparent ruler of the most powerful empire in this part of the galaxy. "Don't worry," Morrison said quietly, though his face showed he was deeply concerned. "We'll figure this out." But, as the Valthran guards led her away, Olivia wasn't so sure. She had only meant to defend herself, but somehow she had claimed a throne before the Emperor's body had even hit the ground. The Valthran royal palace was unlike anything Olivia had ever seen. Massive stone towers reached toward the orange sky of the alien world. The walls were decorated with carvings that showed the history of Valthran conquests across the stars. Guards lined every hallway, their scales shimmering in the light that poured through tall windows. 3 days had passed since the incident on the ship. 3 days since Olivia had accidentally claimed the throne of the most powerful empire in this sector of space. She stood alone in her new quarters, a room bigger than the entire science lab on the UNS Discovery. The furniture was built for creatures much larger than humans, making her feel like a child in a giant's house. "This is insane," she whispered to herself, pacing across the polished stone floor. "I'm an exobiologist, not an emperor." A soft knock came at the door. When Olivia called out, a tall Valthran entered and bowed deeply. His scales were a pale blue, unusual among his kind. "I am Scarith, former advisor to Emperor Krazith, now your chief counsel, if you will accept my service," he said. Olivia stopped pacing. "What happened to the Emperor? Is he dead?" "No, Your Majesty. He lives, though he has retreated to his family estate in shame. To lose in combat is one thing. To lose to a creature half his size from a species with no fighting reputation." Scarith made a gesture with his clawed hand. His pride suffered a wound deeper than any physical injury. "I want to see my people," Olivia said firmly. "Captain Morrison and the others. Where are they?" "They are being treated as honored guests in the East Wing," Scarith explained. "They are comfortable, but it would be unwise for the new emperor to appear too attached to her former companions." Olivia understood the unspoken message. Her crew were hostages, insurance for her cooperation. "When is this coronation happening?" she asked. "The preparations are nearly complete. But first, there is the matter of several warlords who wish to meet you." Scarith's voice lowered. "Not all Valthrans are pleased to have a human ruler." Later that day, Olivia sat in the throne room, a massive chair of metal and stone beneath her. Her feet barely reached the floor. Around her stood a dozen Valthran, warlords, commanders of fleets that controlled entire star systems. Their scales ranged from deep green to nearly black, and all wore armor decorated with symbols of their victories. One stepped forward, larger than the rest. His face bore scars from many battles, and one eye was milky white. "I am Vexmar, son of Krazith," he growled. "I do not recognize this human's claim to the throne." Murmurs spread through the room. Olivia felt her heart pounding but kept her face calm. She had spent the morning studying Valthran customs with Scarith. "The law of combat is clear," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. "Unless you wish to challenge me directly." Vexmar's good eye narrowed. "When the time is right, human. First I wish to see what kind of emperor you will be." That night, after the warlords had left, Olivia was finally allowed to meet with Captain Morrison. They spoke in a garden filled with strange plants that glowed softly in the darkness. "This is a diplomatic nightmare," Morrison said quietly. "Earth has ordered me to bring you home immediately." "And if I refuse?" Olivia asked. "Why would you refuse? You can't possibly want to rule these predators." Olivia touched a glowing leaf, watching it pulse with light. "Of course I don't. But if I leave now, what happens? Vexmar takes control. He's made it clear he sees humans as prey, not potential allies." Morrison sighed. "So what's your plan? Study their biology until you find a weakness for each challenger?" "Actually, yes," Olivia replied. "I've been studying Valthran fighting techniques, their biology, their culture. If I'm going to survive here long enough to prevent a war between our species, I need to understand everything about them." She showed Morrison her computer pad, filled with notes and diagrams. "Look here. They have 3 major nerve clusters that humans don't possess, and their fighting style leaves this area completely unguarded." "You're taking this seriously," Morrison said with surprise. Olivia nodded. "I don't have a choice. Vexmar will challenge me soon. No human has ever survived ritual combat with a Valthran." She looked up at the alien stars visible through the garden dome. "But I'll be the first." 2 weeks passed. Olivia spent every waking moment learning about the Valthrans. She studied their history, battle techniques, and biology. Scareth proved to be a patient teacher, explaining the complex rules that governed Valthran society. The challenge will come soon, Scareth warned one morning as they walked through the palace halls. Vexmar has been gathering support among the traditionalists. I'm ready, Olivia said, though her stomach tightened with fear. That afternoon, it happened. Olivia was sitting on the throne, listening to reports from system governors, when the massive doors burst open. Vexmar strode in, followed by a group of his supporters. His scales were bright with excitement. I, Vexmar, son of Krazith, challenge the human Olivia Winters for the right to rule the Valthran Empire, he announced in a booming voice. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Olivia. She stood slowly, remembering everything she had learned. A direct refusal would show weakness, but traditional combat would mean certain death. I accept your challenge, she said clearly, but as Emperor, I claim the right to choose the form of contest. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Vexamar's eyes narrowed. What trickery is this, he demanded. Scareth stepped forward. The law allows it, rarely used but legal. The challenged ruler may select the nature of the trial. Vexmar hissed in frustration. Fine. What form of combat do you choose, human? Olivia smiled. Not combat. Endurance. The Summer Peaks trial. The Valthrans gasped. The Summer Peaks trial was an ancient test where competitors had to climb the highest mountain on the Valthran homeworld during the hottest season, carrying heavy stones. Many had died attempting it. But Olivia had studied human and Valthran biology carefully. The Dewar, Valthran's heavy muscles and thick scales gave them strength but made them overheat quickly. Humans, with their efficient cooling system of sweat, had an advantage in endurance and heat regulation. This is not our way, Vexmar protested. Are you refusing the challenge? Olivia asked calmly. Perhaps you lack the endurance a true emperor needs. The room fell silent again. To refuse now would be to admit weakness. I accept, Vexmar finally growled. 3 days later, Olivia stood at the base of the tallest mountain she had ever seen. Beside her, Vexmar looked confident, his powerful body dwarfing hers. Each carried 4 heavy stones in backpacks. Hundreds of Valthrans had gathered to watch. First to reach the summit with all 4 stones wins, announced the judge. Begin! Vexmar immediately charged ahead, moving twice as fast as Olivia up the steep slope. She kept a steady pace, conserving her energy. The sun beat down mercilessly. By midday, Vexmar was far ahead but visibly struggling. His scales had darkened as his body tried to cool itself. Olivia, though exhausted, continued her methodical climb. Her clothes were soaked with sweat, her natural cooling system working as she had planned. As the second sun rose in the sky, bringing even more heat, Vexmar began to slow dramatically. Olivia passed him halfway up the mountain. His breath came in harsh pants, his movements sluggish. This is not real combat, he gasped as she passed. Leadership isn't just about fighting, Olivia replied, not breaking her stride. It's about adapting, finding solutions, using your mind as well as your strength. By sunset, Olivia reached the summit, all 4 stones still in her pack. Vexmar had collapsed a quarter-mile below, unable to continue. The Valthran observers stood, in stunned silence, then one by one they bowed. Later in the palace, Captain Morrison met with her privately. Impressive victory, he said, but Earth wants more than just survival. They want you to use your position to negotiate favorable terms for humanity. Military secrets, technology, territorial agreements. Olivia frowned. I'm not sure that's right. These people look to me as their leader now. Remember where your loyalty lies, Morrison said firmly. You're human, not Valthran. Olivia looked out the window at the sprawling Valthran capital city. What if I can be both? What if there's a better way forward than just taking advantage of them? Morrison shook his head. Don't get too comfortable on that throne, Olivia. You're still a scientist from Earth, not an alien emperor. But as he left, Olivia wondered if that was still true. With each passing day, she felt more responsibility toward the Valthrans who now followed her. Her victory had earned their respect, but now she had to decide what kind of ruler she would become. 1 month after defeating Vexmar in the Summer Peaks trial, Olivia sat in a meeting with her new council. The large room was filled with both traditional Valthran leaders and younger ones who supported her changes. Scarith sat at her right, hand, helping explain Valthran customs when needed. Our warriors need battles to prove themselves, argued an old general named Drazkon. His scales were dull with age, but his eyes burned with the same fire as the younger warriors. And our scientists need research to prove themselves, Olivia countered. I propose we create the first Valthran Science Academy, a place where your brightest minds can solve problems through knowledge instead of combat. Many of the older Valthrans rumbled with disapproval, but the younger ones showed interest, their scales brightening. This goes against our ways, Drazkon growled. Your ways have conquered many stars, Olivia said. But at what cost? How many Valthran lives are lost in needless battles? How many species destroyed that could have been allies? A young female Valthran named Kestra stepped forward. I would volunteer to lead this science academy, Emperor Winters. My family has served in the military for 12 generations, but I have always believed there are other ways to bring glory to our people. After the meeting, Olivia worked with Kestra and other forward-thinking Valthrans to establish the academy. For the first time in Valthran history, progress and knowledge were valued alongside fighting ability. Young Valthrans who had been overlooked because they weren't the strongest warriors suddenly found their skills appreciated. Not everyone approved of these changes. Vexmar, though defeated, still commanded respect among traditionalists. They met in secret, planning ways to undermine the human emperor's reforms. One evening, as Olivia studied reports in her chambers, Scarith entered with a troubled expression. Emperor, there is news you must hear. The Mzari Collective has sent a message. Olivia looked up, surprised. The Mzari? I've read about them in the archives. They've been at war with the Valthrans for centuries. 342 years, Scarith confirmed. They are our oldest enemy. Millions have died on both sides. What do they want? Olivia asked. They seek peace talks. They believe a human ruler might listen where previous emperors would not. This was unexpected news. Olivia spent the night reading everything she could find about the Mzari. They were a collective species with each individual connected through a form of shared consciousness. Their technology rivaled the Valthrans, but their society valued harmony over dominance. The next day, Olivia announced her decision to the council. I will meet with the Mzari representatives. It's time to end this pointless war. The room erupted in argument. General Drazkon slammed his fist on the table. They cannot be trusted. They only seek advantage while we lower our defenses. I agree with the Emperor, Kestra said. My brother died fighting the Mzari last year. For what? A border that has barely moved in a century of fighting? After hours of debate, the council reluctantly agreed to allow preliminary talks with strict security measures. 2 weeks later, a Mzari diplomatic vessel approached Valthran space. Olivia watched from the command center as the sleek ship, so different from the aggressive angles of Valthran design, entered orbit. They will dock at the neutral station tomorrow, Scarith informed her. All security protocols are in place. That night, unable to sleep, Olivia walked the palace gardens. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her. If she could bring peace between these ancient enemies, she could save countless lives. A movement caught her eye. A shadow slipped between the glowing plants, then another. Who's there? She called out. Vexmar stepped into the light, along with several loyal warriors. You bring shame to the Empire, he hissed. Peace with the Mzari? They deserve only destruction. Olivia backed away slowly. The constant war serves no one. Both sides lose ships, planets, lives, and for what? For glory, for domination. Concepts a human could never understand. Vexmar moved closer. Tomorrow's peace talks will not happen. My warriors are already moving to attack the Mzari vessel. Olivia's eyes widened in horror. You'll restart the war. A war that never should have stopped, Vexmar replied, his scales darkening with excitement. And when the Mazzari retaliate, the Council will see how weak their human emperor truly is. Olivia turned and ran, hearing Vexmar's laughter behind her. She had to stop the attack before it was too late. Olivia ran through the palace halls, her heart pounding. She had to stop Vexmar's attack on the Mazzari ship. Guards looked at her with surprise as she rushed past them, but none tried to stop the Emperor. She burst into the command center, startling the night crew. Contact the security ships. Vexmar is planning to attack the Mazzari vessel. The Valthran officers hesitated, confusion on their scaled faces. Now, Olivia demanded. That's an order from your Emperor. As the officers scrambled to obey, Scareth entered the room. What is happening? Vexmar plans to destroy the peace talks by attacking the Mazzari ship, Olivia explained quickly. We need to warn them and stop his warriors. Scareth's scales darkened with concern. This is worse than you know. If Vexmar succeeds, the Mazzari will believe you invited them into a trap. Their revenge will be terrible. Before Olivia could respond, the main screen flashed with an urgent message. A Valthran officer's face appeared, his expression grim. Emperor, we are detecting weapons fire near the neutral station. A small attack squadron has engaged the Mazzari vessel. No! Olivia slammed her fist on the console. Order them to stand down immediately. They are not responding to commands, the officer reported. They appear to be using a new communication frequency. Olivia turned to Scareth. Get me Captain Morrison. I need to speak with him now. When Morrison arrived, he looked tired but alert. Olivia pulled him aside, speaking quietly. Something doesn't make sense. How did Vexmar get advanced weapons and new communication systems? The Valthrans are powerful, but their technology in those areas hasn't changed in decades. Morrison's expression remained neutral. Perhaps they've been developing them in secret. Or perhaps they had help, Olivia said, studying his face. Earth. Weapons? Morrison sighed. I was ordered not to tell you. Earth's military intelligence has been working with certain Valthran factions. They believe a continued conflict between the Valthrans and Mazzari would be beneficial for humanity's expansion in this sector. Olivia felt cold anger rise within her. Beneficial? You're talking about billions of lives. It's strategic thinking, Olivia. Let these powerful alien forces weaken each other. Then humanity can step in as the reasonable third party. Who's your contact? Who's been helping Vexmar? Morrison hesitated. Commander Peter Haynes. He arrived 2 weeks ago on a supply ship. The main screen flashed again. The Mazzari vessel was under heavy attack, its shields failing. We need to stop this now, Olivia said. Scareth, prepare my personal shuttle. I'm going to the neutral station myself. That's too dangerous, Morrison protested. I'm still the Emperor, Olivia reminded him. And I will not let my first diplomatic effort end in massacre. Within minutes, Olivia's shuttle launched toward the neutral station. She watched on the view screen as the Mazzari ship desperately evaded. Vexmar's attack squadron. The elegant alien vessel was damaged but still fighting. Open a channel to both ships, Olivia ordered her pilot. When the connection was established, she spoke clearly. This is Emperor Olivia Winters. Valthran attack squad, stand down immediately. This attack was not authorized and is a direct violation of my orders. Mazzari vessel, please accept my deepest apologies. These actions do not represent the Valthran Empire's intentions. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the Valthran ships ceased firing. A new voice came through the communication system, melodic and strangely harmonic, as if multiple voices spoke as one. Emperor Winters, this is collective voice shimmer between stars of the Mazzari. We hear your words, but trust has been broken. Blood has been spilled. I understand, Olivia replied. I ask only that you give me a chance to explain in person. The attack was carried out by rebels within my empire, aided by members of my own species who want our peoples to remain enemies. There was a long pause. Finally, the Mazzari voice responded. We will meet with you alone on the neutral station. We will listen. But the collective's patience grows thin. This chance will not come again. As Olivia's shuttle approached the station, she saw both Mazari and Valthran ships keeping their distance from each other. A fragile pause in a conflict that had lasted centuries. Now she needed to uncover the full conspiracy before it was too late. The neutral station hung in space between Valthran and Mazari territories. Olivia stepped from her shuttle into the empty docking bay. She had come alone as requested, though Scarith had strongly advised against it. A soft blue light guided her through the corridors to the meeting chamber. When the doors slid open, Olivia got her first look at the Mazari. They were nothing like she had imagined. Where Valthrans were all hard angles and armored scales, the Mazari were fluid grace. Their bodies seemed to shift slightly, as if they weren't quite solid. Their skin shimmered with patterns of light that moved like thoughts across their surface. 3 of them waited for her, their large eyes watching her with a collective intelligence. "I am Shimmer Between Stars," said the central figure. The same voice she had heard over the communication system. "We speak for the Mazari Collective." "Thank you for meeting with me," Olivia said. "I deeply regret the attack on your vessel." 6 Mazari lives were lost, Shimmer Between Stars said. "We feel their absence in the collective like missing parts of ourselves." Olivia bowed her head. "No words can undo that loss, but I hope to prevent more deaths on both sides. The attack was not ordered by me or my government. It was carried out by rebels working with humans who want our conflict to continue." She explained what she had learned from Captain Morrison about Commander Haynes and Earth's military intelligence working with Vexmar. "Why would your own kind betray you?" asked another Mazari, its pattern shifting to dark blue swirls. "They see the galaxy as a place to be conquered, not shared," Olivia said. "They think if your 2 species weaken each other, humans can gain power." The Mazari communicated among themselves with flashes of light across their skin. Finally, Shimmer Between Stars spoke again. "We have fought the Valthrans for so long that many believe it is our natural state. Few remember how the war began." "I've read your histories," Olivia said. "Both sides claim the other attacked first." "Yes, but we have found something in our deepest archives, ancient records that suggest another truth." The Mazari revealed a small device that projected images into the air between them. It showed star maps, genetic sequences, and strange symbols. "We believe both Valthrans and Mazari were manipulated by a third species long ago, a species that feared what we might become if we worked together." Olivia studied the images. "This could change everything. If we could show both peoples that they've been fighting a manufactured war." A loud explosion rocked the station. The lights flickered and alarms began to sound. "We're under attack," Olivia exclaimed. Emergency systems showed multiple Valthran ships firing on the station. Leading them was Vexmar's personal cruiser. "They seek to eliminate both of us," Shimmer Between Stars said, "to ensure the peace talks fail completely." Olivia ran to the communication panel. "This is Emperor Winters. Cease fire immediately." Vexmar's face appeared on the screen. "The true Valthrans reject your weak leadership. The Mazari must be destroyed, not negotiated with." Behind him, Olivia glimpsed a human face, Commander Haynes. "The station's shields are failing," one of the Mazari reported. "We have minutes before hull breach." Olivia made a quick decision. Is there a way to broadcast to all Valthran ships at once? Not just the attackers, but all ships in the sector? "The station has emergency broadcast capabilities," Shimmer Between Stars confirmed. "And do you have copies of those ancient records showing how your peoples were manipulated?" "Yes, we brought all evidence." Olivia's mind raced. "Help me set up the broadcast. We need to reach the central communication room." They ran through the shaking corridors as another blast hit the station. Part of the ceiling collapsed behind them. Olivia was thrown forward, pain shooting through her leg as a metal beam pinned her to the floor. "Go," she shouted to the Mazari. "Get to the communication room, I'll follow." As the Mazari continued ahead, Olivia struggled to free herself. Blood soaked through her uniform. With a final push, she pulled her leg free, crying out in pain. The wound was deep, but she could still walk. Limping down the corridor, Olivia reached the communication center just as another explosion rocked the station. The Mazzari had already set up the broadcast system. Through the viewport, she could see Vexmar's ships closing in for the kill. "We're ready," Shimmer Between Stars said. "But the station's power is failing. We will have one chance only." Grimacing through the pain, Olivia stepped up to the broadcast panel. This was their last hope, to prevent war and expose the truth about the conspiracy that had kept two species fighting for centuries. The neutral station hung in space between Valthran and Mazzari territories. Olivia stepped from her shuttle into the empty docking bay. She had come alone as requested, though Scarith had strongly advised against it. A soft blue light guided her through the corridors to the meeting chamber. When the doors slid open, Olivia got her first look at the Mazzari. They were nothing like she had imagined. Where Valthrans were all hard angles and armored scales, the Mazzari were fluid grace. Their bodies seemed to shift slightly, as if they weren't quite solid. Their skin shimmered with patterns of light that moved like thoughts across their surface. 3 of them waited for her, their large eyes watching her with a collective intelligence. "I am Shimmer Between Stars," said the central figure. The same voice she had heard over the communication system. "We speak for the Mazzari Collective." "Thank you for meeting with me," Olivia said. "I deeply regret the attack on your vessel." 6 Mazzari lives were lost, Shimmer Between Stars said. "We feel their absence in the collective like missing parts of ourselves." Olivia bowed her head. "No words can undo that loss, but I hope to prevent more deaths on both sides. The attack was not ordered by me or my government. It was carried out by rebels working with humans who want our conflict to continue." She explained what she had learned from Captain Morrison about Commander Haynes and Earth's military intelligence working with Vexmar. "Why would your own kind betray you?" asked another Mazzari, its pattern shifting to dark blue swirls. "They see the galaxy as a place to be conquered, not shared," Olivia said. "They think if your two species weaken each other, humans can gain power." The Mazzari communicated among themselves with flashes of light across their skin. Finally, Shimmer Between Stars spoke again. "We have fought the Valthrans for so long that many believe it is our natural state. Few remember how the war began." "I've read your histories," Olivia said. "Both sides claim the other attacked first." "Yes, but we have found something in our deepest archives, ancient records that suggest another truth." The Mazzari revealed a small device that projected images into the air between them. It showed star maps, genetic sequences, and strange symbols. "We believe both Valthrans and Mazzari were manipulated by a third species long ago, a species that feared what we might become if we worked together." Olivia studied the images. "This could change everything. If we could show both peoples that they've been fighting a manufactured war." A loud explosion rocked the station. The lights flickered and alarms began to sound. "We're under attack," Olivia exclaimed. Emergency systems showed multiple Valthran ships firing on the station. Leading them was Vexmar's personal cruiser. "They seek to eliminate both of us," Shimmer Between Stars said, "to ensure the peace talks fail completely." Olivia ran to the communication panel. "This is Emperor Winters. Cease fire immediately." Vexmar's face appeared on the screen. "The true Valthrans reject your weak leadership. The Mazzari must be destroyed, not negotiated with." Behind him, Olivia glimpsed a human face, Commander Haynes. "The station's shields are failing," one of the Mazzari reported. "We have minutes before hull breach." Olivia made a quick decision. Is there a way to broadcast to all Valthran ships at once? Not just the attackers, but all ships in the sector? "The station has emergency broadcast capabilities," Shimmer Between Stars confirmed. "And do you have copies of those ancient records showing how your peoples were manipulated?" "Yes, we brought all evidence." Olivia's mind raced. "Help me set up the broadcast. We need to reach the central communication room." They ran through the shaking corridors as another blast hit the station. Part of the ceiling collapsed behind them. Olivia was thrown forward, pain shooting through her leg as a metal beam pinned her to the floor. "Go," she shouted to the Mazzari. Get to the communication room, I'll follow. As the Mamzari continued ahead, Olivia struggled to free herself. Blood soaked through her uniform. With a final push, she pulled her leg free, crying out in pain. The wound was deep, but she could still walk. Limping down the corridor, Olivia reached the communication center just as another explosion rocked the station. The Mamzari had already set up the broadcast system. Through the viewport, she could see Vexmar's ships closing in for the kill. "We're ready," Shimmer Between Stars said. "But the station's power is failing. We will have one chance only." Grimacing through the pain, Olivia stepped up to the broadcast panel. This was their last hope, to prevent war and expose the truth about the conspiracy that had kept two species fighting for centuries.